what is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel, Connor on Chains. So, let's cover a bunch of different stuff today. I want to talk about Bitcoin, ETH, majors, everything going on when it comes down to what might be happening on Friday. Then I want to cover a few different ecosystems that I've been paying attention to, including Bittensor Eco, which is something I've been watching for over a month now. But I just want to cover a bunch of different things, so let's get into it. Because I know I have not been nearly as active when this market has been in the shit right now. But same thing, I feel like I say it very repeatedly. It is time to stack onto conviction coins. More than likely, you should not be jumping into straight up shit coins right now, or coins that do not have any sort of longevity, especially new launches, things like that. Unless you're aiming to get in and out, focus on coins that you want to hold for 5 to 10 years. Even though you're not actually going to hold them that long, invest with that kind of mindset in times like this. Even though we're going to be selling once we really just start taking off for alts. But so let's get into it. This Bitcoin is, it's had one of the most volatile weeks I think I've seen in a long time. Where sentiment just goes one way and the other. Excuse me, I think in a literal span of like 4 or 5 days, we nuke for 2 days straight. We recover in a day. Within 16 hours of that recovery, we are all the way back down. Today we are back up, and yet we are still kind of trending now to the downside. ETH looked like trash the other day. I actually thought if this level was going to fail, this was going to be terrible for a lot of the market here. I think Ethereum really has got to be stepping it up going forward. But it's something I've been saying for a while. I know for a fact once ETH can really start showing signs that it wants to just accelerate, and really kind of just run into an actual new high and not just push, up to resistance here and come bouncing all the way down. Like if it can really catch a huge bid across the board. ETF inflows have been very same thing, just on and off for ETH, for Bitcoin. There's been a lot of different filings too. We got, I think, an Aptos, something with Aptos was just filed, I think, literally today, potentially for Grayscale. Don't quote me on it. I'm not bringing it up because I just thought about it. That was not what I wanted to talk about in the video. Sol doing its thing, still bouncing very hard down here. Huge bounce, and it's all the way back down again. But in my opinion, this was the absolute bottom for Sol right now. If this breaks, I would think the entire altcoin run is kind of over. Same exact idea with ETH. If this really does break down and just start, heavily trending to the downside, I would think we're over. But anyways, let's cover some more stuff because we've been seeing a lot of different things over the last probably 3 or 4 days starting to get traction. Like I've been saying, is Bittensor subnets on and off. The most random subnets left and right have been, changing hands as far as mind share, momentum. And we also have been seeing Bitcoin memes actually start to move a little bit. Don't get me wrong, it's not like they're, taking over all of crypto Twitter mind share. It's very small at the moment, but definitely something I've been paying attention to. I'm super bullish on the Bitcoin ecosystem. I always have been. And I just would love to see more catalysts, to bring the rest of crypto Twitter and a lot of newer investors to want to jump into things like that. So I'll cover all that in a minute here. So we're going to use Trusty Tau Stats. This is my favorite website for anything related to Bittensor. There's also Tau Market Cap, which is another platform, which isn't too bad. It's really good as well. But subnets, it's like I said, very random as far as which subnets have been getting traction because when we're dealing with this ecosystem, as of right now, there's mainly 64 subnets that were kind of created, and I don't want to say created because a lot of these teams have been building for a long time, but these 64 subnets went live day one, within the Bittensor ecosystem. And we now are starting to see a little bit more subnets, starting to trickle in. I think we're up to like, I don't know if it's 70 or 71 or something right now, but we just started to see, one of the newest subnets. A couple of these are unknown, at least on this site. I guarantee there's probably another site that has it. But it was this one, Nova. This one actually got a lot of traction. It's up 600% in the last week. So that's kind of crazy to see too. But the thing with this eco is, like, for me, how I like to look at it is it's almost like we're in the trenches on Sol. But the difference is we are looking into which project here is building something unique that actually could take mind share and potential, from other unique Bittensor based projects. And I'd say 95% of these projects, aside from, dead ones that have, they registered for subnets months ago and they really aren't doing anything. Most subnets that are active are building something fairly strong, unique, have a good team behind them. So for the most part, these coins are not scams. This very small ecosystem at the moment, there's only a handful of coins that you can pick. And if you can find one with the right team that is really doing something with AI, they can leverage Bittensor for a lot of different things. Shoots has been, this has been one of the, top subnets for a while. Shoots has been killing it. Just, chart wise, not really. Nothing is actually taken off yet, which is also something very bullish and why I wanted to bring things up. But, I'll show you guys the charts of some of these too. If I can click it today. Oh, I think it's just lagging. But like I said, Shoots has been a good one. Dippy AI has been one of my favorites for a long time. It's such an interesting ecosystem here. But I do think they 100% need to make it easier for newer investors to actually jump into this eco. But on the flip side, to be getting into it now, while it is actually very difficult to get into it, that is actually where most of the gains are going to come from, especially if you are holding on to some really good ones. But keep in mind, guys, I'm not a financial advisor. This is just stuff that really interests me in the market right now. Because I really just like projects leveraging Bittensor, and the tokenomics on Bittensor are just really strong. And the fact that these projects can really build something on top of it is just crazy to me. Shoots is just super interesting. Kind of leverages. You can use whatever AI model on the platform, but what's interesting is because when you're using like OpenAI or something, or ChatGPT rather, every single, they call it tokens. Basically, every time you're typing into the ChatGPT, you're typing something in, and then also when it spits something out, that is actually, it's spitting out like data, but what they call that is tokens. And I think depending on how long your message is, whatever you're typing, the amount of tokens that it actually sends back could be anywhere from 20 tokens to 200 to 2,000, like something random. But the thing is with Shoots here, they're using the emissions that they're getting from Bittensor itself to actually assist with paying for users to actually use the LLMs without them actually having to pay up the ass. Even though a lot of LLMs right now they're not that expensive to use. If you're scaling it with a ton of users, yes, it's going to be very expensive, but the fact that they can kind of do that it's really impressive. Like, this is a really strong use case right now within AI. I don't know why this chart's not loading. That's my fault today. But the thing is too, so we can come back to that in a minute, but with the market, we got March 7th is apparently when the crypto summit is happening. My bad. I'm looking how many guests are going to be there. This is going to be huge for the market. And when I say huge, though, I don't mean that it's going to be huge as in the market is going to pump like crazy. Because the thing is I guarantee over the next day and a half, leading into Friday, which I'm actually shocked that, we're not getting more movement right now. I mean, we did kind of today a little bit. That's where this candle came from, but I would say in the next 2 days, we'll probably start climbing up here a little bit more. But it's gonna be very hard to know what should you do going into this and after this event. Because I would expect there's gonna be two ways. It's gonna go up or down, obviously. But if it's going up, Trump is probably gonna say something crazy, and the market is going to react to it in a very good way. Meaning Bitcoin could legitimately put in a really good candle, signifying some huge strength in the market. And that's really gonna be like, if we can get back over 100K, that to me is gonna be a very clear signal that more than likely we are gonna go way higher from there. It's probably gonna be a major impulse move directly into a new all-time high. But again, this is not gonna be what's actually gonna happen. Like, no one knows, right? But on the flip side, this market sentiment has been awful the last few weeks. Not even, I think about a month and a half now. So the other way that you could look at it too is if we do get a lot of pumps and a lot of hype and bullishness within literally 2 days from now, this could be a potential time to be looking to short the market to the downside. And in my case, what I'm actually going to be doing, is depending on where price goes, depending on what, is said, how the market reacts to it, opening up a hedge position, worst case, aka mean holding on to either some of your longs that you've had and holding on to a lot of your spot positions in conviction, but also opening a short, just in case there is a lot of downside that just comes out of nowhere again, right? It wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to be doing. This is kind of how I've been focusing on the market over the last, few weeks here. Because for me, I'm still holding on to a lot of conviction bags, even though, yes, they are down. But, I obviously want to be exposed in this market. I firmly believe at some point we will go higher. And to be exposed to very strong coins, I'm not going to be selling until at least the data that I have to confirm that we are legitimately in a bear market or something actually shows that, and we have not seen that yet. Some signals have most signals have not even decided one way or the other. I think I covered that in a video, or maybe the last video or the video before that. But anyways, outside of that, we actually got this platform called Odin Fun. This is pretty interesting. So this has been out, I think, for about a month. Don't quote me on that. It's been out for a little bit of time now, but we actually just started yesterday. We saw a little bit of traction coming to the platform. So what this is, though, is this is basically the pump fun type platform for the Bitcoin ecosystem. There actually have been other renditions. But the thing is, too, is I think they're actually using ICP underneath this, which is pretty interesting. Because ICP is a chain that I think is very undervalued, but they also have a ton of work to do. But I mean, for them to be building this, I think is going to be pretty good if this can get a lot more traction. I'm kind of just bringing light to this because I think it's interesting, and I always love the Bitcoin ecosystem, because I think the Bitcoin ecosystem at some point will take over a lot of mind share in one way, shape, or form. I'm really bullish on it, but this platform I've messed around with, bought and sold a couple things. I haven't thrown, absolute bags at any of these yet, but it's still very high risk, guys. It's literally another pump fun platform, but it's pretty cool that it's actually leveraging Bitcoin. You actually need a Bitcoin wallet to connect to these. Unisat, which to me is the OG wallet. Unisat, you got Xverse, OKX, I guess even Phantom too, and then Magic Eden. Pretty interesting. I'm not gonna be, buying anything right now, but I think there was an exchange that launched a token on this platform yesterday, which is kind of interesting too. So I don't know. It's like you never know what can actually catch traction in this market at any point. The biggest thing with me though is when sentiment is this horrible and it's just been down only, it's very hard for anything to actually get sustained traction. That is the biggest thing. When we are constantly in a bullish trend and we're moving up all the time, not even just Bitcoin, but altcoins, Ethereum, Solana in general, that is a catalyst alone for when altcoins are running and they have a dip. And then the chart's looking like this, right? It looks like it's ready to just pump. If this is an altcoin on a chain and the major of the chain decides to run like this, and yet you have the coin sitting like this still at support, what do you think is going to happen? Because everyone knows the underlying asset just ripped, right? Everyone is expecting a new all-time high from the altcoin. But when the sentiment does the opposite, and this is what a lot of, especially newer investors, don't understand, is when Bitcoin is going down, or their altcoins are just consistently going down, but then they see an altcoin have a 3, 4, 5x pump out of nowhere. A lot of people, they'll see the impulse pump, and then they're still buying the dip. They'll buy up here, but if this is going to be a few weeks to a month or more of chop, most of the time, pumps like this, when the market sentiment is down bad, will not hold. Like I've seen it so many times, where a coin will pump and 2 days later, a week later, 2 weeks later, it is going to be down all the way at zero. I'm not even talking about just meme coins. Like a lot of utility coins, it's the same exact way. The only coin that I actually have an exception for with that has been a mantra. This thing has legitimately just been up only the entire time the market has been down. And this is a coin, I honestly have not even like fully researched this. I've looked into it a few times. But for me, when I see a pump like this, especially multi-month pump, I do not buy it. I'm not going to be buying a dip here, to catch a little move. But shout out to anyone who got into this, because this was one that went under the radar for me personally, as far as continuously just pumping. But I mean, these candles are just nuts, though. I don't know if there's something up with it or what, but almost killing it. But like I said, I haven't done my due diligence on it. Whether anything shady is going on, whether it is very legitimate and it's just literally been killing it. But outside of that, that is literally the only exception that I've seen in this market, like to date. So keep that in mind. When sentiment is bad, guys, this is why a lot of times it's best to kind of slow down, take a breather, sit on your hands, and if you get massive corrections on some of your favorite coins, just add a little bit. You don't even need to add like an entire position, just small positions there, left and right, can't hurt, Like even Bittensor, it's like this has been one that I've been loving lately, mainly because the ecosystem is now live, and how much demand is required for projects building on the ecosystem, to actually maintain their longevity within it. I think it just drives a very demand driven ecosystem, and that's why I'm bullish, very bullish on Bittensor right now, even at multi billions. Because for me personally, I rarely ever hold coins that are, over a billion, 2 billion. This is a major exception for me. But I'm trying to make this one of my biggest bags in my portfolio. As of right now, it almost is, but I'm going to continue adding because it is at a beautiful discount, as usual, which I can't complain about, But on top of that, even adding to some subnets and just being patient, I think is just like, I feel like there's no better bet on the market right now than this coin. I swear. I think AI is one of the best narratives. This coin is building one of the most demand-driven ecosystems within AI. The charts are bottomed out within the ecosystem. Every single coin, granted, aside from a few dead ones and maybe a couple LARP ones in there, most of the ecosystem has very strong teams that have been building a lot. All the coins are very low in market cap, and they have a lot of room to grow. The entire market's on a market-wide dip. I don't think there's a better opportunity to actually scale into something new like this ecosystem and even this coin on a dip, you know. That is why I've been loving Bittensor lately. Hype is another ecosystem that I have been watching for a while, but this ecosystem completely died out. I have a lot of faith in Hyperliquid, but even the chart right now is just not looking good. Before it kind of had this dip here, it was looking very bullish, almost ready for another push to the upside. But this is what I've said, I'll say it again. When sentiment is just not good, many levels will not hold up. Like charts just will not hold their levels. If Bitcoin is deciding to nuke, everything is going to nuke. I mean, that's pretty obvious, but even if you're looking for a trade setup and you're like, oh, this chart looks so clean, just keep in mind you need to know what Bitcoin is doing at all times. You got to know what the majors are doing at all times. But outside of that, guys, that's kind of what I wanted to cover in this video today. I know a bunch of random stuff, but I'm still very bullish on this market. As horrible as it looks right now, this has been some of the toughest market conditions I think to hold through, and or just to be in the market, watching for the last few months that I think I've ever seen. It's just crazy. Even though technically it's like I've been waiting for a dip like this for over a month and a half. I thought we were gonna have this here and back here. I was pretty prepared for it. But after seeing this kind of dip and the time capitulation on every single altcoin, it's like nothing is out of the question anymore. It's like you got to really understand how far down these coins can go when things turn south. It's super important. But outside of that, guys, that is what I wanted to cover. I appreciate you guys watching. And I will see you in the next video. Thank you.